Go to your room, close the door, sit alone. Because what you're about to hear might change your life forever. Most people spend their entire lives running from silence, from truth, from themselves. But in Buddhism, silence is where awakening begins. And today, I'll share 7 powerful Buddhist lessons that only reveal themselves when you are truly alone. 1. Attachment is the root of suffering. Let me ask you something. Why does it hurt so much? When someone leaves? Why does failure feel like it breaks you? Why do expectations turn into disappointment? Almost every time. It's not the event itself, it's your attachment to it. You don't suffer because something ended. You suffer because you believed it shouldn't end. You don't suffer because someone changed. You suffer because you expected them to stay the same. Now, you don't suffer because you lost something. You suffer because you made it a part of your identity. That's the trap. In Buddhism, attachment isn't love. It's dependence. It's the silent belief that says, I need this to be okay. I need this person to stay. I need things to go my way. And the moment reality doesn't obey, pain begins. Think about it. The tighter you hold on to something, the more terrified you become of losing it. And that fear slowly turns into suffering. It controls how you think. It controls how you feel. It controls how you live. You stop experiencing life and start trying to control it. But life cannot be controlled. People change. Situations shift. Nothing stays the same. And yet, you keep holding on. That's why it hurts. Not because life is cruel, but because you refuse to let it flow. The Buddhism teaches something simple but brutal. Attachment says this must stay. Reality says everything will change. And when those two collide, suffering is born. So what's the solution? It's not to stop loving. It's not to stop caring. It's to stop clinging. To experience things fully without trying to possess them. To love people without needing to control them. To enjoy moments without fearing their end. Because the truth is, the moment you stop holding on so tightly is the moment you finally feel free. Let go. Not because you don't care, but because you finally understand. 2. Everything is temporary. Look around you. Everything you see, everything you love, everything you fear is temporary. Nothing stays. That feeling you have right now, it will pass. Or that person you can't imagine losing, they will change, or leave, or fade. That success you're chasing, even that won't last forever. But you live like it will. You act like things are permanent, like moments can be frozen, like life will stay exactly how you want it. And that illusion is where your suffering begins. In Buddhism, this truth is unavoidable. Everything is in constant motion. Nothing stands still. Not your emotions, not your relationships, not even you. You are not the same person you were years ago, and you won't be the same tomorrow. So why do you hold on like things are meant to last forever? Think about it. When something good happens, you fear losing it. When something bad happens, you fear it will never end. But both fears are illusions, because everything always changes. Pain doesn't stay. Happiness doesn't stay. Nothing stays. And once you truly understand this, something inside you shifts. You stop clinging so tightly. You stop panicking over loss. You stop chasing permanence in a world that doesn't offer it. Instead, you begin to see life differently. You start appreciating moments instead of trying to own them. You start accepting endings instead of resisting them. You start living instead of holding on. Because the truth is, the reason things are beautiful is because they don't last. And the moment you accept that, you stop fighting life and finally move with it. 3. Your mind creates your reality. Let's be honest. Two people can go through the exact same situation, and walk away with completely different experiences. One breaks down, the other grows stronger. One sees failure, while much the other sees a lesson. So what's the difference? It's not the situation, it's the mind. In Buddhism, your mind is everything. Not because it controls the world, but because it controls how you see the world. And what you see, while it becomes your reality. Think about it. You don't actually experience life as it is. You experience life as your mind interprets it. A single thought can ruin your entire day. A single belief can limit your entire life. And the worst part? Most of these thoughts aren't even true. They're automatic, conditioned, repeated over and over until you believe them. I'm not good enough. This will never work. Nothing ever goes my way. And slowly, your mind turns these thoughts into your reality. You start acting differently. You start feeling differently. You start living inside a story that you didn't even question. That's the danger. Because if your mind is untrained, it becomes your prison. But if your mind is understood, it becomes your freedom. You begin to notice your thoughts instead of blindly following them. You begin to question them instead of believing everything they say. You realize just because you think something doesn't mean it's true. And that realization changes everything, because now you are no longer controlled by your mind. You are aware of it, and awareness is the beginning of freedom. So the question is, are you living in reality or in a story your mind created? Because once you see the difference, you can never go back. 4. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. There's something you've been told your whole life, something that sounds comforting, but isn't true, that you can avoid pain, that if you make the right choices, become strong enough, smart enough, careful enough, you can build a life where pain never touches you. But look at your life. Has that ever been true? Pain doesn't ask for permission. It shows up, uninvited. Loss, rejection, failure, loneliness. It doesn't matter who you are yet, how prepared you think you are, or how perfect you try to be. Pain will find you. And in Buddhism, this is not seen as a problem. It's seen as reality. Pain is part of being alive. You cannot escape it. You cannot outrun it. You cannot negotiate with it. But here's where everything changes. Suffering is not the same as pain. Pain is what happens to you. Suffering is what you do with it. And most people don't see the difference. The moment pain enters their life, they resist it. This shouldn't be happening. This is unfair. Why me? They replay the moment again and again in their mind. They fight reality. They try to push it away, ignore it, escape it. But the more they resist, the stronger it becomes. Because resistance feeds suffering. It turns a single moment of pain into days, weeks, even years of inner torment. Think about it. The breakup lasted a moment, but the suffering lasted months. The failure happened once, but your mind replayed it 1,000 times. The pain was real, but the suffering was created. Created by thoughts. Created by resistance. Created by the refusal to accept what is. And this is the trap. You think you're suffering because of what happened, but you're suffering because you won't let it be. Buddhism teaches something that feels almost impossible at first. Accept the pain. Not because you like it, not because you want it, but because it's already here. The moment you stop saying, "This shouldn't be happening," and start saying, "This is happening," something shifts inside you. The fight ends. And when the fight ends, suffering begins to dissolve. The pain may still be there, but it no longer controls you. It no longer defines you. It no longer grows into something bigger than it is. Instead, it becomes something you can observe. Something you can feel and without being consumed by it. This doesn't make you weak, it makes you free. Not because now You are no longer adding layers of suffering on top of the pain that life already gives. You're no longer turning moments into lifelong wounds. You're allowing things to pass, the way they were always meant to. And here's the truth most people never realize. Pain is temporary, but suffering can last forever if you keep holding on to it. So the next time pain enters your life, pause. Don't run. Don't fight. Don't resist. Just notice it. Feel it without the story, without the judgment, without the need to change it. Because in that moment, you break the cycle. And when you break the cycle, you understand something powerful. Life didn't create your suffering, your resistance did. And the moment you let go of that resistance is the moment you take your power back. 5. Let go of control. Take a moment and be honest with yourself. How much of your life are you trying to control right now? Your future, your relationships, how people see you, how things should go. You plan everything. You overthink every possibility. You try to predict outcomes, avoid mistakes, secure certainty, because deep down, you believe control equals safety. If everything goes your way, you'll be okay. If people act the way you expect, you'll feel secure. If life follows your plan, you'll finally relax. But has that ever really worked? Or has it just made you more anxious, more restless, more afraid? Because the truth is, control is an illusion. And in Buddhism, this illusion is one of the biggest sources of suffering. You think you're in control, but you're not. You can't control how people feel about you. You can't control what happens tomorrow. You can't control how long things will last. You can try, but life will always remind you who's really in charge. Think about it. How many times have things not gone according to your plan? How many times have people surprised you, disappointed you, changed without warning? How many times have you done everything right and still ended up somewhere you didn't expect? And each time it happened, it shook you. Not just because of what happened, but because it broke your sense of control. That's why it hurt. Because control isn't just about managing life. It's about feeling safe inside it. But here's the problem. The more you try to control life, the more fragile you become. Because now, your peace depends on everything going your way. And life doesn't work like that. It's unpredictable, unstable, constantly changing. So when you build your peace on control, you're building it on something that can collapse at any moment. And when it does, you feel lost, anxious, overwhelmed, out of place. Because the illusion you relied on is gone. But what if the problem isn't life being unpredictable? What if the problem is your need for control? Think about that. What if peace doesn't come from controlling everything, but from no longer needing to? Because when you let go of control, something unexpected happens. You stop fighting reality. You stop exhausting yourself trying to manage every outcome. You stop living in constant tension, waiting for things to go wrong. And instead, you begin to trust. Not in the sense that everything will go perfectly, but in the understanding that you can handle whatever comes. That no matter what happens, you will adapt. You will move forward. You will be okay. And that kind of trust is far more powerful than control. Because control is fragile. It depends on circumstances. But trust comes from within. It stays even when everything else changes. But letting go of control isn't easy. Because it feels like you're giving up. Like you're becoming passive, careless, unprepared. But that's not what it means at all. Letting go of control doesn't mean you stop trying. It means you stop forcing. You still take action. You still make decisions. You still move forward. But you release your grip on the outcome. You stop saying, "This must happen. This has to go my way." And you start saying, "I'll do my best," and accept what comes. That shift changes everything. Because now, failure doesn't destroy you. Unexpected outcomes don't break you. Other people's actions don't control your peace. You become flexible, resilient, grounded. You move with life instead of against it. And this is where real freedom begins. Because the moment you stop trying to control everything is the moment you stop being controlled by everything. Look at nature. The ocean doesn't try to control the waves. The wind doesn't try to control its direction. Everything flows, adapts, moves. And that's why it's powerful. But you try to control every wave of your life. You resist change. You fear uncertainty. You hold on to what's familiar, even when it's hurting you. And in doing so, you create your own suffering. Because life is movement, and control is resistance to that movement. So the question is, how long will you keep fighting something you can't win against? How long will you keep exhausting yourself trying to control the uncontrollable? Because at some point, you have to let go. Not because you're weak, but because you finally understand. You understand that life doesn't need to be controlled to be lived. That uncertainty isn't something to fear. It's something to experience. That not knowing what comes next is part of what makes life real, so take a breath and loosen your grip. You don't have to control everything. You don't have to figure everything out. You don't have to make life perfect. Just be here. Do what you can, and let the rest unfold. Because the truth is, the more you try to control life, the more it controls you. But the moment you let go is the moment you finally become free. A 6. Silence reveals truth right now. You're probably surrounded by noise, your phone, voices, endless thoughts running in your head. Even when you're alone, you're not really alone. Because your mind keeps talking constantly, commenting, judging, remembering, worrying, planning. There's always something filling the space. And maybe you've gotten so used to it at night that silence feels uncomfortable, almost unbearable. That's why you reach for distractions. You open your phone without thinking. You play something in the background. You keep yourself busy, even when there's nothing to do, because silence feels dangerous. But have you ever asked yourself, why? Why does being alone in complete silence make you uneasy? Why does it feel like something is missing? Because in silence, there's nowhere left to run. And in Buddhism, this is where truth begins. Not in noise, not in distraction, not in constant activity, but in stillness. Because silence removes everything you use to escape. No more scrolling, no more conversations, no more external stimulation. Just you, and whatever is inside you. And that's what most people are afraid of. Because when the noise disappears, you start to notice things. Thoughts you've been avoiding, feelings you've been suppressing, questions you've been ignoring. They don't disappear in silence. They get louder, and that's why you avoid it. Because deep down, you know there are things inside you that you don't want to face. Regret, fear, uncertainty, loneliness. Silence brings them all to the surface, and for a moment, it feels overwhelming, like you've lost control. Like your mind is too loud, your thoughts too heavy, your emotions too real. So what do? You escape again. Back to noise. Back to distraction. Back to anything that keeps you from sitting with yourself. But here's what you don't realize. Every time you run from silence, and you run from understanding yourself. Because silence isn't the problem, it's the mirror. It shows you what's really there, and yes, what you see at first might be uncomfortable. But that discomfort is not something to fear. It's something to understand. Because hidden inside that noise in your mind is truth. Truth about what you feel. Truth about what you want. Truth about what's been hurting you, without you even realizing it. And the only way to see it is to stop running, to sit, to be still, to let everything come up without trying to push it away. At first, it will feel chaotic. Your mind will jump from thought to thought. Old memories will surface. Unfinished emotions will rise. It will feel like too much. But if you stay, something begins to change. The thoughts slow down, the noise starts to settle. The intensity fades, and in that quiet space, you begin to see clearly. You start to notice patterns, the same fears repeating, the same doubts returning, the same stories playing over and over again. And for the first time, you're not lost in them. You're watching them. That's the shift. Because once you can observe your mind, without being controlled by it, you gain distance. Clarity, freedom. You begin to realize you are not your thoughts. You are the one aware of them. And in that awareness, something powerful happens. The things that once controlled you start losing their power. Fear becomes something you can look at instead of something that consumes you. Pain becomes something you can feel without being overwhelmed by it. Confusion becomes something you can explore instead of something that traps you, and all of this comes from silence. Not from doing more, not from thinking harder, not from searching outside, but from stopping, from being still long enough to finally see. And here's the truth most people never realize. You don't find answers by adding more noise. You find them by removing it. Because clarity doesn't come from chaos. It comes from stillness. That's why monks sit in silence for hours. That's why meditation exists. That's why every deep realization you've ever had came in a quiet moment, not when you were distracted, not when you were overwhelmed, but when everything slowed down and you finally listened. So the next time you feel the urge to escape silence, pause. Don't reach for your phone. Don't fill the space. Just sit. Even if it feels uncomfortable, even if your mind resists, stay, because beyond that discomfort is something most people never reach. Understanding, not of the world, but of yourself. And once you begin to understand yourself, everything else starts to make sense, because the truth was never hidden from you. It was just buried under all the noise, and silence is how you uncover it. 7. You are not your thoughts right now. There's a voice in your head. It's been there your entire life. Talking, commenting, judging, doubting. Sometimes it motivates you, but most of the time, it limits you. It tells you what you can't do, who you're not, why something won't work. And the strangest part is, you believe it. Without questioning, without pausing, without even realizing it. Every thought that appears in your mind, you accept it as truth. I'm not good enough. I'll probably fail. People are judging me. I can't handle this. These thoughts come and go, but you hold on to them, as if they define who you are, and slowly, they start shaping your life. They affect your decisions, your confidence, your actions. They become your reality. But here's something most people never realize. That voice in your head is not you. In Buddhism, this is a fundamental truth. You are not your thoughts. You are the one aware of them. Think about that. If you can observe a thought, if you can notice it appear and disappear, how can it be you? You don't control most of your thoughts. They just show up, random, uninvited, often negative. If they were truly you, you would be able to stop them anytime. But you can't, because they are not you. They are patterns, conditioning, echoes of past experiences. Things you've heard, things you've been taught, things you've repeated so many times. They feel real, but they're not. They're just mental activity. And the problem is, you've been identifying with them your entire life. Every negative thought you take personally. Every doubt you treat as truth. Every fear you obey. And without realizing it, you've given your power away. Because now, your life is controlled by something you don't even question. But the moment you step back and simply observe your thoughts, everything begins to change. Instead of saying, I'm not good enough, you start noticing, I'm having a thought that I'm not good enough. That small shift creates distance. And in that distance, you gain control. Because now, you're not inside the thought. You're watching it. And when you watch it, you begin to see it clearly. You start to notice how repetitive it is. The same doubts, the same fears, the same stories, playing over and over again, not because they're true, but because they've become familiar. Your mind doesn't care about truth. It cares about patterns. And if you've been thinking something long enough, it will keep repeating it. But repetition does not make something real. And this is where your freedom begins. The moment you realize you don't have to believe every thought you think. You don't have to follow every feeling that arises. You don't have to obey every fear that appears. You can pause, you can observe, you can choose, and that choice is power. Because now, your thoughts no longer control you. They become something you experience, not something you are. Fear can still appear, but it doesn't stop you. Doubt can still arise, but it doesn't define you. Negative thoughts can still come, but they don't trap you. They pass, like clouds in the sky, and you remain, unchanged, aware, present. This doesn't mean your mind becomes silent overnight. It doesn't mean negative thoughts disappear forever. They will still come. But the difference is, you no longer get lost in them. You no longer build your identity around them. You no longer let them dictate your life. Instead, you see them for what they are. Temporary, unreliable, not you. And that realization is one of the most powerful shifts you can experience. Because for the first time, you're no longer fighting your mind, you're understanding it. And when you understand it, you stop being controlled by it. So the next time a thought appears in your mind, pause. Don't react immediately. Don't believe it instantly. Just notice it. Watch how it comes and how it goes. Watch how it tries to pull you in, how it tries to convince you. And instead of following it, stay where you are, aware. Because in that moment, you'll see something clearly. The thought is there, but you are here, separate, untouched, free. And once you truly understand this, your entire relationship with your mind changes. You stop being a prisoner of your thoughts and become the observer of them. And that is where real freedom begins. Now, sit there for a moment longer. No distractions, no noise, no escape. Just you. Because everything you've just heard was never meant to stay as words. It was meant to be experienced. These lessons, they're not ideas. They're truths you can only understand when you slow down enough to see them. You don't need to go anywhere. You don't need to become someone else. Everything you're searching for is already within you. But most people, they never stop long enough to realize it. They keep running, chasing, distracting themselves until life passes by without awareness. Don't be one of them. Take this moment seriously, because this right here is where change begins. Not tomorrow, not someday. Now. The moment you start observing your mind, letting go, accepting what is, you begin to wake up. And once you see clearly, you can't unsee it. So the next time you feel lost, overwhelmed, or unsure of yourself, remember this. Go to your room, close the door, sit alone, and listen. Because the answers you're looking for have been waiting for you in silence all along.